comrade that most of us relied on, both in the possibility of the street fight, but also in the intellectual wisdom. His ability to navigate and analyze the balance of forces and the possibilities of alternative approaches to the many challenges that we face. I know most of us, and especially in civil society, we always believe that what we do is better than others. We always spend our time criticizing others. We seldom reflect on ourselves. We have just closed the Civil Society Forum, and never before have my clarity of politics emerged than over the last 2 days. My political consciousness and understanding of what is it that we as civil society can do and cannot do. Sometimes it is in the moments of the challenges that we face that then we go back and ask who our comrades are and who our friends are, and who we can travel together and believe that we can make change happen. And then you ask the question, what are the fundamentals that brings us together? I am sure that as we are gathered here as social movements across the length and breadth of our region, we will believe that we have everything in common. What we never ask ourselves is why, when we leave this room back to our respective countries, we never take the resolutions of these important meetings, follow them up and act on them. Because there is always a difference between our declarations and our commitments to see them through. We are being challenged, comrades. If we look into our region today, the challenges and the difficulties, and especially the spirit of the liberations that has led us to the independence of our countries, and the role that civil society played, does not exist anymore. I'm appealing that we really need to go back and deeply reflect on who we are. Because I believe that over the years, we have become the professionals of outstanding distinctions, that our ability and capabilities as revolutionaries and activists no longer exist. This is very clear in the manner in which our leaders are doing the things that they do, because they know us very well, that our primary intention is to shout louder so that we can be recognized, that our next destination is to be a minister of something. That bless our social activism. We had a very deeper debate during the course of the Civil Society Forum. One of the outstanding issues that has divided us is the issue of the sexual orientation. But at the heart of it is our understanding of the human rights discourse. That the history that I am from tells me that a human right is a human right, that we as civil society must be reflecting that social spirit. If we go back, what has been happening, for example, in Swaziland, and the solidarity that we were supposed to have given to the Swazi comrades, beyond the declarations and the press statements, if we reflect deeply, what has been happening in Zimbabwe over the last 20 years, and what is happening indeed in Lesotho, and the scandals of corruption in South Africa, what is happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, it is apparently clear that our leaders know that the kind of civil society that we have seen during the liberation struggles does not exist. That the kind of accountability that we need to enforce, we do not have what it takes. And I'm sure that if we are not prepared and committed to go back to the streets and beyond the conferencing as we sit here, our region will continue to deteriorate. I want to invite all of us, given our experiences today, that perhaps we need to create a platform where we gather all the activists in our region and reflect as to whether we are still committed to change. You will recall that we launched the campaign of the SADC We Want. It couldn't take off the ground because we no longer have the activists of the yesteryears. Our leaders can ignore us because they know there's nothing that will happen. We will come and gather here and go to shout outside the heads of states. They do what they do, decide what they decide, and go back home. And they know that they can afford to do that because they are not accountable to anybody, and nobody will make them accountable. I am asking you, as a last frontier of what remains of our social activism, that let us please reflect as to whether do we still have the activists who can enable and commit themselves to go into the battlefronts and enforce the accountability that is today required in our region and respective member states. Because I am convinced that meeting every 12 months in the civil society forum is creating more problems than confronting the challenges that we face, because none of us seems to be committed to fight for these declarations. None of us seems to be committed or believe in the declarations that we make. but it's become very important for us to self does not exist. I want us to assess our responsibility as civil society and whether the things that we do within ourselves, within the organizations that we represent, are any different from what some of the member states are doing. Because our ability to make them change is dependent on the honesty among ourselves. Let us be able to reflect and debate so that when we come to the conclusions, we know that we believe in the decisions and the resolutions that we make. Our region needs a different type of civil society, a different type of social activism, which does not exist today. Let us gather, even if it's a few of us, who are willing to provide the leadership which is required within civil society, and be able to make our presence and demands felt. And I think we can start today. If we are going to live here today and meet again in 12 months' time, the resources that we put into play for us to come here are not justified unless we are able to follow them through beyond this meeting. In conclusion, I want to extend our fraternal greetings from the SADC Council of NGOs and to say we need your support. We are quite aware of our limitations, but I believe together we can be able to make a difference. Let us eliminate the divide, the us and them, and create a unity in purpose, but also to redefine our conscious politics. Because unless we have a common understanding of the challenges before us, we are never going to make a difference. But we will follow through, and perhaps in October, to convene a consultative conference of the social activists who are really committed to make change happen in our region. And there are very few of us, and I think the outcome of here and the few who are committed to take forward what we resolve. But also when we gather here, we must be able to ask the leaders who have convened us, what have we done with the resolutions that we made last year? Because unless we create that accountability among ourselves, I am saying so because from the Civil Society Forum, we have made almost the same resolutions for 10 years, and nobody takes responsibility because it becomes our occupations to meet every 12 months without reporting back to the constituencies that we claim to represent. I'm appealing to ourselves. Let us observe here, if the Civil Society Forum can learn from the social movements, whether the accountability here is different from what I have observed, that we have implemented the resolution that we made last year in Zimbabwe. I hope we have done so, but we must also be able to learn as leaders to take directives from the constituencies. Unless we do that, there is no purpose. I thank you and wish you the comradely success. Thank you.